Well, welcome everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, it's great to have everybody online again.
Yeah, good to be back.
And to be connecting and to be back. And how's your week been, Rach?
Quite a full week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as time goes on, they're getting fuller and fuller. Lots happening, but all good. How about you?
Yeah, that's not been, like you, it's been a bit of a full week. And we're getting to the issue with the building where it's detail, and more detail. And you know that's my strong point.
Yeah, maybe not so much.
Not so much.
No.
So, fortunately, we've got other people involved in the discussion.
Who do like detail.
They do like detail. Yes, they do like detail. Like Dave. Talking about Dave.
Oh, yeah.
Have you got a joke?
I don't have a joke
No?
because last week they were so good that I thought, that it's got to reach that standard now. So, and none were quite reached that standard.
No,
so.
And we want to keep people waiting so they can be anticipated a bit more. But we did discover where the Bala and B&Q joke came from, didn't we?
Yes.
Well, what was the
was
source?
actually from Dave.
It was, wasn't it?
He kept that quiet.
He kept that very quiet, but no longer.
Today. Yeah.
And he doesn't look very pleased back there with us. So, Rach, we're looking at the whole issue of racism and Black Lives Matter, and massive issue, and 40 minutes can't really do this justice. We're going to try, and we'll introduce Lester a bit later, who we've interviewed.
Yes.
And also, it fits in with the Beatitudes and the Sermon on the Mount, because the Beatitudes are about how we should be living our lives.
Absolutely, yeah.
So explain a little bit about what we're going to do.
Yeah, so we're going to have a reflection that relates to racial harmony that, again, we can join in together on. And we're going to hear from Lester intermittently in little sort of bite-sized pieces throughout. So the whole service will be around this issue. So I think, which I think is really important.
It is very important. So we're going to start with a reading, and then we've got a song, and then Lester will want for his first 5 minutes or so, and then after that we will introduce the reflection and prayer.
Great.
Jesus said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacekeepers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for this is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you.
Put your hand in my side. Put your hand in my hand. The dark gives way to light. I came to rise again. find me in a storm. Find me sleeping downstairs. Hear my words and be calm. You can take my bed. Hear the angels speak. Hear the desert cry. Hear your voice in the crowd as I pass you by. Hear the story read. Hear the morning crow. Hear the crowd sing the name, Lord, they do not know. Follow me a while until my time is gone. Follow only so far as will be done. See the morning break into the tomb in disarray. What's true for me is true for you. What's old is new. What's dead is life. What's gone is here. What's lost is found. What's far came near. The night is day. And though there may be tears, they are wiped away. I am the rising, I am the life. I'm a piece of bread, I'm your peace at night. Put your hand in my side. Put your hand in my hand. The dark gives way to light. I came to rise again. Put your hand in my side. Put your hand in my hand. The dark gives way to light in the end.
Okay, well, I'm so pleased to have with us a special guest today, and he's Lester Freckleton, who's a minister in Cardiff down in Butetown, and I've just asked him to come in very kindly and to chat with us around the whole issues of Black Lives Matter and what was going on in America, what's going on in Britain to do with race. Such an important issue, and I'm thrilled that he's been able to come in. You were talking earlier, Lester, and saying your parents are part of that Windrush generation. Tell me what their experience was like coming over to Great Britain.
So my dad was invited to Great Britain by the British government to help the rebuild. And in 1955, he came over as a carpenter, firstly to Wolverhampton. Faced a lot of racism there. He told me stories about teddy boys chasing him regularly. And then heard that there was work in Newport and came down to Wales, where he had a much better time in terms of not being chased down the street. Yeah. However, they didn't want to recognise his indentures as a carpenter, so he ended up working as a shunter on railways. Goodness me. And what was his experience of church? My dad was a Christian from the West Indies, from Jamaica, and came over here, again, excited about getting into church, getting into worship, turned up at a couple of churches, and maybe week 2, week 3, somebody would pull him aside and just gently say, I'd prefer you not to, if you could find somewhere else to go next week. This happened on, numerous occasions. Yeah. And through a range of churches. So, you might go to a Baptist or a Pentecostal or a Church of England, and he was just constantly getting this. He got fed up. My dad was the kind of guy, he just had enough of that. Enough, right, yeah. And so he just started praying at home. And because other people were experiencing similar things, they started coming to our home to pray. Before long, we were having church at the house. Yeah.
And I mean, it's very sad that had to happen. And I can't imagine what it makes you feel like as a person, and particularly you growing up as a child and young person. What was that like for you? Did you face any racism when you were growing up?
Oh my goodness. First day at junior school, I got punched in the face because I was black. And then I remember first day at high school being punched in the face because I was black. So, your blackness, whether you wanted to admit it and recognize it or not, was always recognized. Yeah. Psychologists say that's the first thing that people recognize is color. And, it was always, fairly negative. The difficulties was that you kind of wanted to fit in, but wasn't allowed to fit in.
Yeah.
And then you would get hostility from your peers, sometimes from the teachers, and then often from the police.
Yeah.
I remember, this is in my late 20s, or no, my early 20s, being stopped 3 times in one night. And
walking or driving? Or
driving.
Driving, yeah.
And the first time that I got stopped, I said to the officer, could you tell me why you stopped me? And he said, you look a bit young to be driving this car. And so I said, how young do I look? And he couldn't tell me. And so I said, it's funny how my age seems to be connected with my color in a nice car, which didn't help the situation because he kind of got really annoyed at that. But, so I'd say getting stopped 3 times in one night, and I know people who've never been stopped in their lives. Yeah. So you carried that with you.
Tell me, you had, talking about before, an interesting, probably the wrong word, experience with a family when you used to have to walk past their house.
So again, to go to my junior school, I had to walk down a certain street, and there was a woman there, and she was, so racist. She would call her 2 boys out, and I would have to, and they would fight me. So if I was down the street, she'd call them out, and she'd say, get him. And the first time I ran, but after a while, I fed up with running, so I would fight them, and we would fight regularly. It's funny now that, I see one of them, and we sit and talk, and, there was no animosity, and we actually laugh back at those days because they were fighting because they were being told to, and I was kind of fighting for my existence, really. So yeah, it was an interesting situation.
But how did you cope? How did you feel?
So here we go. It makes you angry, and it, as somebody says, it creates trauma. And if you think about trauma, if you've had a bad situation and then that bad situation is repeated, you then start looking. You walk into the rooms almost expecting it. Yeah. Part of your defense mechanism is, I need to be ready for this when it comes. And that then means that people are not always experiencing the real you. Yeah. They're experiencing the traumatic you.
Yes, yeah.
So,
it is.
Yeah, it did affect me. And, to be honest, even through my teens, the person that I was in my teens, was a person that would be very quiet. I remember doing something crazy, which was I would get on a bus, and if there were no seats downstairs, I would attempt to go upstairs. But when I put my head upstairs, if the bus was fairly full, I would do most of the journey on the stairs, because I was just so conscious of the animosity, and people not even wanting you sit next to them on the bus. That and so you've got to kind of break through that. Yeah. You've got to break through that, and I thank God, because I was brought up in a Christian home. I was taught about the value of me and the value of God in me, and those were the things that sort of helped me to break through this.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Lester. You've highlighted some very important things there. Really appreciate that. And to come off the back of that, we'd like to go into a reflection and a led prayer. And as part of the led prayer, Rachel will do part of the prayer, then on the screens will come a response which we can all join into. So we're going to leave some pauses for you to reflect and to put your own words in sometimes. So this is the Bible reading from Isaiah 32. In those days, the Spirit from on high will be poured out on us. Then will the desert become an orchard, and the orchard regarded as a forest. Right will dwell in the desert, and justice abide in the orchard. Justice will bring about peace. Right will produce calm and security. My people will live in a peaceful country, in secure dwellings and quiet resting places.
In hope that the arc of history bends toward justice, we lift up our prayers for racial healing, saying,
Bind us together, O God of love.
For the Church, that its prophetic voice may proclaim to all the challenge to break the hopeless cycles of poverty, ignorance, prejudice, and despair, which degrade the sacred dignity of humankind.
Bind us together, O God of love.
For our country, that we might celebrate our racial diversity and the distinctive and rich contributions of every fibre of our cultural fabric.
Bind us together, O God of love.
For wise and decisive action on the part of local and national leaders, that the scandal of racism may be eradicated from our society.
Bind us together, O God of love.
For an end to the subtle racism of economic oppression which permeates our society's structures and resides in many hearts.
Bind us together, O God of love.
For our faith communities, that they may not succumb to indifference or accept the status quo, but press on for fundamental change.
Bind us together, O God of love.
For the victims of racial discrimination, that they may be filled with hope for a more just future, healing from wounds received, courage to advocate for change and for peace, and the grace to overcome hatred with love.
Bind us together, O God of love.
For those who work for racial justice, that they may be sustained in hope, empowered with courage, and filled with the grace to persevere in love.
Bind us together, O God of love. Amen.
Amen.
Well, thanks, Rachel. That was a great reflection.
Yeah, it was.
I thought we did well with that.
It was.
And, I have noticed something, by the way. It's interesting. When I interviewed Lester and then watching last week, I suddenly realised people sit differently on these stools.
Oh, yeah.
Have you noticed? Now, you always sit with your legs crossed.
I do. That's because I'm a lady.
Because you're a lady. But I always sit like a country and western singer with one foot on the ground.
You just need a guitar.
I just need a guitar.
And a hat.
And a hat, and I'll be well away. And
I'm sure Dave could do that with his graphics.
I'm sure Dave could do with his graphics, actually. And I'm sure with Mike Brown could take my voice and make it sound good.
Oh, well, I don't know. There are limits.
There are limits to technology. That's right, yeah. But anyway, Rach, a few years ago, I had a sabbatical.
Yes.
And
yes.
it's
that is a few years.
It is a few years ago, but it was fantastic. I can remember it. The good news is you're having a sabbatical, aren't you?
Yes.
Yes,
I am.
That was a big sigh, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, I am. I'm very fortunate, actually. The leadership have very kindly allowed me to take some time.
Yeah,
so
because we're very kind.
Yes, you are.
And tell me, when's it going to be from?
So from the 17th of July, so a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And counting.
And counting, the days, the hours.
Yeah, and I'll be off until mid-September. So, yeah.
Well, it's thoroughly deserved, and you need that rest. And I suspect you'll spend most of it sleeping. And
most likely,
of it,
yeah.
You won't be around in Cardiff, so
No.
people can't get hold of you. But in a couple of weeks' time, we'll pray for you.
That would be nice.
Which would be lovely,
Thank you.
actually. That'd be lovely. But the good news is pastoral care is in my capable hands now.
And I'm never coming back.
Never coming back. No,
Joking,
fortunately, Dave Reese is...
He'll be around.
He'll be around, and
Yeah.
other people around as well, so that's great. So we're going to go now into Leicester again, and then off the back of that, we said we'd continue looking at the food, and we're going to be looking at Laura and Sally and Rachel and the Thursday provision. That's done, which is exciting. And then there'll be a song, and that will be followed by Leicester and then by me.
So I pastor a church in Butetown, Vine Community Church. We're right there, just off Butte Street, in Mariah Street. And we're right adjacent to a mosque.
Yeah.
And I think the census say that it's 22% Muslim in that area. Very a heavy culture in terms of Islam, and that's where we are.
Yeah.
We're a black majority church. Let's use that phrase, but that's not how we see ourselves.
Yeah.
I think that's how we are seen.
Yeah.
But we see our mission as impacting our postcode. Yeah. We talk about the Vine Mile. So we've got like a square mile, and we're like, we need to impact this mile for God. Yeah. That's our mission.
That's a good thing. And to the big question, is there a problem with race in churches?
I would normally say it depends on who you ask, because if you ask somebody that's never experienced it, they'd be like, no, everything's great. But I think if you ask the right people, you would get I think some leaders would be surprised at even how some people within their congregation feel about their brothers and their sisters within that congregation. Yeah. So yes, there is a problem. And if we have racism in society, and if it is systemic in society, then the church isn't going to be exempt from that.
No.
Yes, because the church is made up of people, and people carry what they have to create church culture. And so, there is racism in church. Can I just say, there is a difference between what I would call prejudice and racism. We all have prejudice. We all have our preferences. Yeah. Racism for me is prejudice with power. And whether that be a numbers thing in terms of being a majority voice, or whether it be a positional thing, so people say to me, can black people be racist? They can dislike you on grounds of race. Yeah. But when you apply this in terms of prejudice with power, very often they are not in a position of power that will ever impact anybody else's life.
Cool, that's very helpful, actually. That really is very helpful. And how do you think, if you look at the churches across Wales and the United Kingdom, how would that racism, do you think, manifest itself? In what way?
So again, if we look at churches, you might even find churches where you have large numbers of black people. You might have what I call multi-ethnic churches. Yeah. And you then look at the leadership structure of those churches, and you look at the leadership, and you find that, the leadership is white, male, middle class in a lot of cases. Yeah. And even though you've got people within the church who might have a great calling for leadership in their lives, that's not necessarily represented in the leadership. Racism is an issue in church. Yeah. And I see that. How does it manifest itself? By the silence of some of the church leaders, even around Black Lives Matters. Yeah. I believe, if you're not a Catholic, then you're a Protestant. Yeah. And the Latin root of Protestant means to protest, to exclaim, to proclaim. Yeah. And, the church seems to have lost that voice. Yeah. We've lost it some ways, even where the gospel is concerned, but we've lost it where injustice is concerned. It seems like we are not prepared to protest and to shout out for that person.
Yeah. Now, am I right? Do you sit on the council, don't you? Some councils in Cardiff you sit on, and you speak into that council. Is there a place, do you think, where Christians should be speaking truth to power about this?
And this is where. So at 18, I was blessed to be invited into a meeting, and that meeting then ended up being Gwent Race Equality Council, and to be there at 18, 19, and listening to the conversations was quite powerful. That was really powerful for me, and I was there as not just a black person. I was there as a Christian. Trying to bring the ethos of the love of Christ and the love of God into that situation. I think where churches are failing, it's not really just leadership. As church members, we should be putting our hands up to be on committees in our areas. We should be on school councils. We should be on parents' associations. Yeah. We should be the voice of Christ in all of those situations. Yeah. And on statutory boards as well, you see these adverts, the NHS are looking for, we should be there, because we're not just bringing, our life skills and our lived experience, we are bringing the ethos of the love of God into that situation.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So we've just finished preparing and delivering our weekly meal provision. Every Thursday we do that for those people who are isolating in the community local to Glenwood. Each week we've been delivering a 2-course hot meal in substitute for the lunch club that we would normally be doing on a Thursday. Obviously we haven't been able to do that, so this is some way of still connecting with the community. So I caught up with Sally, who normally does the lunch club on a Thursday.
Hi, I'm Sally and I run the lunch club on a Thursday at Glenwood. I've been doing the lunch club now for probably about 10 years.
And what do you enjoy about lunch club?
Oh, meeting people and cooking. I love cooking. Trouble is, when there's only 2 of you, you can't sort of show off all your skills. But when you've got a big group and lovely people we've got come here, so, you know, I really enjoy the cooking and meeting people, of course. During lockdown, I really missed Glenwood and the cooking and the catering and everything. My son's been quite strict with us, making us stay at home and shield and all that business, and something I'm not very keen on doing. But anyway, I'm sort of getting a bit freer now, so hopefully it won't be too long before we're back up here and I'm enjoying myself again. I've been doing a lot of dog walking. I've got to find a lot of people who want to come walking with me and my dog, which is difficult trying to socially distance with people who just want to be close to you. But other than that, I've been gardening. I bought my husband a greenhouse at Christmas, and I've been taking Laurie's advice, the gardening lady from Glenwood. I've grown some, I'm so pleased to see, I've got some flowers on my chilies, and that was a manky old chilli I'd thrown in the food waste bin, but Laurie said you could grow chilies from seeds, so I thought, oh, pull it out. Took the seeds out and I got amazing chilies growing, and I got some peppers growing too, no flowers yet though. Oh, and old potatoes, I planted a few of them. I got a lot of green stuff. I don't know whether there'll be many potatoes, but it's all quite exciting, and I've grown all my flowers for my hanging baskets and pots from seed as well this year, so they're all coming out now, so I'm quite delighted with a bit of gardening.
Nice.
I'd still rather be cooking. We've really missed all the girls that helped, because we used to have a lovely time on a Thursday and lots of laughs and fun. Hazel and Sandra and Meryl and Anne, all the people and the interns who came in to help and help finish off the food as well. I miss all them. It's been so quiet at home, but it's been a nice rest, I suppose. But I can't wait to get back and to get into the swing of things, see all the friends I've made coming in for lunch, and just to be with everybody up here, because it's such a good place to be.
So obviously we've really missed working with Sally, but in the absence of her, we've had the joy of working with another Sally who works for Little Man and makes amazing cakes, and has been working really hard during the season to provide the meals for people in our community.
Hi, I'm Sally, and I've been helping Laura cook meals for the Glenwood Community Luncheon Club every Thursday for the past 15 weeks, and it's been great fun.
We We also have an amazing team of drivers who have faithfully turned up every week to deliver the meals to people in our community, and we're so grateful to them. Thank you so much to everybody who's been involved to make this work during this unprecedented season. It's been so good to feel a sense of community despite the isolation and to connect in different ways. So we're so grateful to everybody, and we do pray God's blessing on all those isolating, on people volunteering, people working really hard, and we trust God for our future.
God of justice, Savior to all, came to rescue the weak and the poor, chose to serve and not be served. Jesus, you have called us. Freely we've received, now freely we will give. We must go, live to feed the hungry, stand beside the broken. We must go, stepping forward, keep us from just singing, move us into action. We must go to act justly every day, loving mercy in every way, walking humbly before you, God. You have shown us what you require. Freely we've received, now freely we will give. We must go, live to feed the hungry, stand beside the broken. We must go, stepping forward, keep us from just singing, move us into action. We must go. Fill us up and send us out. Fill us up and send us out. Fill us up and send us out, Lord. Fill us up and send us out. Fill us up and send us out. Fill us up and send us out, Lord. We must go, live to feed the hungry, stand beside the broken. We must go, stepping forward, keep us from just singing, move us into action. We must go, we must go, live to feed the hungry, stand beside the broken. We must go, stepping forward, keep us from just singing, move us into action. We must go.
So tell me, Lester, in terms of, in the light of George Floyd, what's your view on the Black Lives Matter movement, and should the church be out there protesting, demonstrating, and speaking truth to power?
It's a great cause. I mean, I can't imagine anybody who saw that footage and who was not moved, you know, to the point where you just don't want to see it anymore. You know, it really, it is traumatic. And the wave of energy that it has created in terms of people talking about racial injustice, I think that's great. And I think that the churches need to be at the forefront of that. And Black lives do matter. And I'm hearing people say, yeah, but all lives matter. One of the problems that we have with that statement is that is not recognizing the disparity, the difference. Yeah, all lives matter, but it's as if some lives matter more than others. And what we're trying to say is, no, all lives matter. When I talk about, you know, part of one of the things I do is I train on diversity and inclusion. And I used to do a lot of work around equality. And when I mention equality, you can see people pulling back, because it's almost as if I'm going to give you equality status, I'm losing something. It's as if equality is a finite lump, and that every time I give something away, I'm losing. And so I started talking about equity. And so what Black Lives Matter says is that equity is a quality. It's a quality of being treated fairly, you know? And so there's a difference between, you know, oh, I'm treating you equally to Paul. Yes? Well, that might be great, but maybe you weren't treating Paul equally to somebody else. So treating me equally to Paul doesn't necessarily mean that we're getting a fair deal. Whereas if we apply equity, I think that's great. You know, I've got a son, and at 11, I had to sit him down and say, listen, you are a black boy. And he's like, yeah, what does that mean, Dad? And I said, it means that life is really different for you. Now, of course, nearly all of his friends were white, and he just, you know, at 11, you don't see that. You don't necessarily pick up on those vibes, but, you know, I was, you know, how you behave and how people respond to you and how you respond to others will be magnified. By the time he was 13, he knew exactly what I meant.
Well, let's keep using your son as an example for a second. So your son is walking down Cardiff High Street, and he sees a policeman, and he sees an advert for a job which he wants to apply for. How is his experience different to somebody the same age but white walking down the same street?
Okay, so here we go. You know, and I can apply that to myself or even to my son. Again, it is about that. It's about being conscious that just being black and walking down that street, the chances of him being stopped, the chances of him being, you know, quizzed or even stopped and searched are so much higher. And what I say, I had to have the conversation. When this happens, this is how you behave. Because if you behave in another way, you will be locked up in a cell. You know, they'll start the process on you. And so, you know, that just having that and, you know, having those conversations.
Job interviews and applying for jobs. So I want to tell a story about a friend of mine called Delroy. Delroy had a very good first-class degree from Swansea University in economics. I was saddened to find out that Delroy had to change his name on his applications before he got an interview. So he was putting out all these applications, could not get an interview for a job, and somebody says to him, do you know why? Because it's Delroy. And he's like, what do you mean? So because Delroy says black, and they will not even shortlist you. He changed his name to Tony, got an interview so quickly he couldn't believe it. Ended up heading up a team and you know, doing really well. It's that sort of thing. So as we finish, what is your hope? Do you have hope for the future in terms of racism, in terms of society? What's your hope? Where's it based?
So my hope is based in God. It really is. It is based in the fact that the church has a role to play in society. And I think that if we can, as a church, impact ourselves, firstly, we really have to believe this stuff. When I go into training, I know that all I'm doing is affecting behavior. People know that if you do this when you come into work, you will be punished. That's not what, you know, salvation's about. Yes, we need our very natures transformed. And so if the church, and as Christians, if we do what we should do, which is, love from the heart, we will see a difference, because our children and our children's children will have that in them. And when we talk to people and they are in their safe places, so somebody might bump into you, and because you're a white man, Paul, they might think, oh, it's all right to say, or what about all this nonsense? Yeah. We need to stand up for the truth and say, actually, I believe that there should be equity. I believe that we should be treating people fairly because they have a right for that.
Wonderful. Well, Lester, that's been wonderful. And thank you so much for coming in a second time.
It's okay.
Really
It's been a
appreciate
pleasure.
that.
It's been a real pleasure.
God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Well, wasn't that great to hear Lester there? And I'm just amazed at the man who's been through such experience that he's been through, that he's so gracious. And that says a lot about the man. So just for 2 minutes, as I pull it together, I just want to talk a little bit about what we can do as individuals and what we can do as churches. And we've been looking at the Sermon on the Mount, and the Sermon on the Mount and the Beatitudes are all about Jesus' manifesto on how we should live. If we follow these, this is the way that God intended us to live. And we begin to leave these out, we become more like Jesus. And we become more like Jesus, there's more chance that we begin to live the way that we're meant to live. So these are just some things I think we need to think through. We need to pray, and we need to ask for justice. We need to pray against the forces of evil, because that's what is the heart of racism. At the heart of racism is evil. And any system or structure or person that devalues a person because of gender or because of color or for any other reason, at its heart has evil at its center. So we need to be praying against that. We need to be speaking up and asking for justice in our society. As Lester said, we need to listen to black people, to mixed race people. We need to hear their stories. We need to try and put ourselves into their shoes and understand how they feel after years and years and years of feeling that people have treated them as second-class citizens. We must speak up. We must speak up and avoid at all costs any form of lifestyle that diminishes the dignity of any person, irrespective of color, of race, of gender. And when we hear racist comments, we need to speak up. We need to say that is not right, however painful and difficult that may be for us. We need to do it in our church context. We hear people doing that on a Sunday morning when we're talking to people. There really can be no peace without justice. There can be no justice without truth. And there can be no truth unless someone rises up to tell you the truth. There are times when we must have peaceful demonstrations and speak up and speak out that this is wrong. There are times when we need to speak truth to the council and to the assembly and to the government. And at times that's difficult. But we must speak out and say God intended us to live a certain way. And that's the way where all people are equal and valued and fearfully and wonderfully made. And finally, we need to live in and out of love. We need to live in the love of God, and we need to live that out in our daily lives and love people for who they are, created in the image of God and fearfully and wonderfully made.
Well, thank you so much to Lester for coming in and sharing his story and his experience. And I think we're all that bit wiser as a result of that. So, and to you, Paul, for what you shared there as well.
For the couple of minutes I shared. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. And just to remind you folks, remarkably, we've only got £98,000 to raise for the whole building project. So please keep praying about that, that the money comes in quickly now. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
So we're just about to say goodbye in our normal fashion, and then it will be the grace. But after that, just as a little way we'd like to finish, there's a poem by a man called Micah Bournes, and I think it sums up beautifully all that we've been talking about. It's a great way for us to end. So I hope you enjoy it. And so we're going to say
goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
May the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ
and the love of God
and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit
be with us all, now and evermore.
Amen. I don't know how many of you know, Amanda Wingers, but she is a member of the team that goes to Uganda. And she's been several times, and she has very long, pretty blonde hair. And she was telling me one time when she goes there that the little African kids are like amazed, like, oh, I've never seen anything like that. Can I touch it? And they're always touching her hair and touching her hair. But when she comes back to Bend, Oregon, her Goldilocks don't get quite the same amount of praise. But when I came to Bend, Oregon, I got a job at the Boys and Girls Club, and all the little white babies was like, oh, it's amazing. Can I touch it? And I just kind of thought that was kind of funny. So I wrote this poem, actually, the first summer I was here. I was staying with John Harris, and this poem was inspired by his choice of shampoo. It's called Normal Hair. I was showering at the home of a white friend, pondering deeply as I lathered my chocolate skin, when suddenly I got the inclination to observe the labels of the hygiene products placed neatly on the windowsill. One particular bottle struck me as queer. Garnier Fructis Fortifying Shampoo for normal hair. I thought, normal to whom? Based on my current residence, my hair is considered alien, yet I can think of several locations where it would fit the norm, like the Howard University dorms or the south side of Chicago. If I walked into a grocery store on 79th Street in the Chi and made my way to the shampoo aisle, I wonder what I'd find. Garnier Fructis Fortifying Shampoo for abnormal hair, you know, the kind you can't find around here, for the hair that lays straight, no kinks, no waves, for that crazy kind of hair that doesn't need grease. Or would it still read, for normal hair? Now, if you ask me the question, do I have normal hair, I'd answer, yes. Yet, I doubt if that product was made for my texture. But I guess I can't complain. Who wants to be normal anyway? I know what normal really means. And no offense to normal people, but I have no desire to be normal. Then I started thinking, why don't we label everything normal as normal? Mayonnaise, the normal condiment, country, screamo, and rock will all be called normal music. Barack Obama, the first abnormal president. Well, technically he's half normal. Now do you see how ludicrous this concept of normality is? The only problem I have with normal people is that they think they're normal. Trust me, there is nothing normal about you. Many of my normal friends have lost pride in their heritage as if minorities have a monopoly on everything intriguing while they get stuck with normal culture and normal hair. But this is not just a normal problem. Many people, normal and abnormal alike, fail to see the beauty in their own identities. Oh, the irony when black girls cry themselves to sleep wishing they were light-skinned while white girls lay for hours on the beach fabricating melanin. I just don't understand. I'm happy how I am. Not full of pride, but proud to know I'm made in the image of God. And God is far from normal. So if every human being is fashioned after him, there is no typical human, no normal ethnic group. No matter who you are, red, yellow, black, normal or blue, there's something divine about you. But I guess you can't know this if you don't know the God you reflect. You spend your whole life thinking you're normal or worthless, never knowing which of God's many attributes are present in you. I urge you to introduce your image to its template, Jesus Christ, the prototype. In many ways, a normal guy, rejected by men and despised, yet for them he was sacrificed. By this, God was pleased. Therefore, thus says the Lord in Isaiah 53, verse 12, I will divide him a portion with the great, and all who know him will be like him as well. Normal? I think not. Followers of Christ possess the very Spirit of God, making us extraordinary. And as if by Christ we're not already great, just you wait. We've been given a promise of glorification. Each saint will undergo a magnificent transformation. From head to toe, every hair follicle will radiate with beauty unlike you've ever viewed. When we get to heaven, Garnier Fructis will not do. If your faith is in Christ, next time you run out of shampoo, take me up on this dare. Go to the store and ask the bag boy, where is the shampoo for glorious hair?
Christ within me, Christ below me, Christ above me, Christ be with me. At my right hand, at my left hand, as I lie down, as I rise up, as I stumble, as I fall down, Christ as I stand, Christ in the heart of everyone who thinks of me, Christ in the mouth of everyone who speaks of me, Christ in every